One of my employees mentioned that this may be a good place to get some advice for my current dilemma. I, 46M, am one of 4 kids. My older brother P, 48M I think, who I no longer have any contact with. My younger brother J, who is no longer with us. And my youngest sister K, 44F. Recently P's children, 2 girls and 1 boy, all in their late teens and early 20s, reached out to me and expressed a desire to have a relationship. I have 0 contact with their father and swore that I would beat him black and blue if I ever saw him again. A little background. My oldest brother P was always the golden child. No matter what he did, my parents always had an excuse for why it was not his fault. Bad grade? Teacher had it out for him. Cheating on every single one of his relationships? Good thing you did it to her before she did it to you. That one was my personal favorite. He also used to torment Jay and I constantly when we were smaller than him. Until in high school, when I hit a growth spurt and sprung up to about 6 feet 4 inches and 230 pounds worth of muscle. After that I became the typical jock type. Played football, partied, bunch of friends, etc. Well, my younger brother, Jay, didn't get as lucky and stayed pretty small and scrawny throughout high school and college, only getting up to about 5 feet 8 inches and didn't have a super active social life. Despite the difference in our schooling experience, I was always very protective of Jay, especially since we were always having to put up with P's bullshit, which stopped once he realized I could pound him into the ground and not break a sweat, as he was also a lot smaller than me at only 5'10". Not much to say about K. She was a great younger sister and P didn't dare mess with her or he would incur the wrath of our mother. So, in the late 90s, Jay met his first real girlfriend, A, and was over the moon about her. He spent every spare moment with her, and when he wasn't with her, he would do nothing but gush about her. I had never seen him so happy. Well, one day, he comes to us, all smiles, and announces that A is pregnant and they are expecting. The mood quickly turned, however, when a week later it came out that A had been cheating on Jay for the duration of their relationship with our older brother P. This broke my brother, and of course P, being the golden shit that he is, didn't even get a disappointed glance from our parents. To this day I've never seen someone look so broken as Jay had looked the last time I saw him. I believe his heartache was only compounded by the fact that my parents basically told him to get over it and be happy for our brother. Well, about a week after this revelation came to light, Jay took his own life. I had never been so sad and angry at the same time in my entire life. Sad that I would never see my brother again, and the pure rage of knowing that this was my brother and parents' fault. During the funeral, P walked in with A and I saw red. Thankfully I had other family there to stop me from doing anything stupid, but I told P that if I ever saw him again, I would kill him. Shortly after that, I cut contact with 90% of my family, with the exception of K and a cousin I had always been close with, because everyone except them wanted to make excuses for my parents and P. Fast forward to present, I never had any kids and truth be told, I never wanted any. I much prefer the role of the fun uncle. K met a great guy and had 2 daughters, who I absolutely adore. P had 2 more kids with A before cheating on her, shocker, and splitting, and I've never met any of them. My parents have tried to make contact a handful of times but I always told them to kick rocks. So last week, I'm chatting with K's daughters, 19 and 17, and they mentioned that their cousins have wanted to meet me for a long time and were hoping I would be willing to meet them as well. I don't believe they know everything that transpired between their dad and I, but I would be lying if I said I never had any desire to meet them. So everyone, I'm hoping to crowdsource any ideas/suggestions on how I begin/maintain a relationship with P's kids while also keeping him and A out of my life. Any suggestions are welcome. Edit. One commenter just brought up a good point that kind of changes my question. The reason I wanted to meet with them soon is because they are all back in town at once from college due to COVID. But someone gave me the idea that maybe meeting them one at a time once they return to their college campuses/old living arrangements is the better option? Thoughts? Edit 2. I've had multiple people ask me why K still talks with the people I cut contact with, so I'll just copy/paste one of my replies here. Even though my sister was just as crushed about Jay's death as I was and was angry for a long time, she and her then boyfriend, future husband, hit a financial rough patch after graduating college and were forced to move in with our parents. Due to unrelated drama at the time, they couldn't stay with me. So my sister stayed with them for several years, and over that time their relationship improved, and even though I wasn't thrilled at the time, I understood. She still doesn't really have a relationship with P but is cordial if they meet. I don't blame her, because our parents did a lot for her and daughters love their cousins, so I didn't want to put her in that kind of position of choosing. More information provided by the OP. As much as I hate Pete and Anna and do still blame them for Jay's death, I'd like to think I have more class than to shit talk Pete to his kids. My decision to split from the rest of my family outside of Pete and my parents was also a very pragmatic one. As I started to make money, I kept getting more and more requests for handouts and favors, which was already weighing on my last nerve. After Jay's death it just kind of hit a boiling point and I burned every bridge on the way out. I've had minimal contact with some of them over the year. Regarding my sister K, considering she was just as crushed about Jay's death as I was and was angry for a long time. She and her then boyfriend, future husband, hit a financial rough patch after graduating college and were forced to move in with our parents. Due to unrelated drama at the time, they couldn't stay with me. So my sister stayed with them for several years, and over that time their relationship improved, and even though I wasn't thrilled at the time, I understood. She still doesn't really have a relationship with Pete but is cordial if they meet. I don't blame her, because our parents did a lot for her and her daughters love their cousins, so I didn't want to put her in that kind of position of choosing. Pete's kids haven't reached out to me personally yet. I was only told about their desire to meet me through Kay's daughters. That's why I think the reason they may be interested in meeting is that they have a close relationship with Kay's kids and I am a big part of their lives, so maybe they just want to get to know me. At least, that's what I hope it is. If this were 5 years ago, this would be a different story. But according to Kay, all the kids are in college and are only back with Pete due to COVID. I've been thinking that I should hold off on meeting them until they all return back to college and their dorm/previous living arrangement. But by then they will be all over the country. Now is the only time I would get to meet them all at once. But now that I type it out, maybe meeting them one at a time would be the better option. Update: how do I start a relationship with my nieces and nephew when their father was responsible for my brother's passing? Hello everyone. I'll start off thanking the community for all their comments and replies. It gave me a lot to think about and helped me formulate a plan on how I was going to approach this. I had several people tell me I should not meet up and just let sleeping dogs lie, but the what if of it all would eat me alive if I didn't see them. Second, I wanted to answer a few questions/concerns that people brought up in my previous post. One of them was why I used letters to represent the people in my story and not just make up fake names. I mostly did this because I didn't want to confuse myself with fake names and then accidentally put the wrong name to represent someone's role/actions. I apologize if this makes it difficult to read. Another concern I saw a lot was that they were trying to get back in contact for my money, which was also a concern of mine, but I don't spoil my sister's children at all. I'm currently helping her oldest with financial aid and will be assisting the youngest as well, but no money is coming out of my pocket. I'm simply teaching them responsible money management, along with putting them in contact with financial advisors, and they are extremely grateful, so I hope they will not expect some kind of college loan that they're not going to get. Finally, I had several people ask if I ever went to therapy for this. I did go see a therapist pretty regularly for about 6 years after I made the initial break from my family, and it did help significantly. She did counsel reconciliation for a very long time, but I told her that it was not up for discussion. She also helped me see who else in my life were big problems and helped me make a semi-clean break from them as well. One of the not so clean breaks was the reason I was unable to take Kay in after she hit financial troubles and had to move back in with our parents. So, on to the update. I decided to hold off on meeting them as a group, especially since they were still living with their dad at the time, and just do one-on-one meetings. I also didn't want to be bombarded with questions or propositions for money if their intentions weren't good. So, the first one to go back to her college town, which was shortly after my first post, was the oldest of P's kids, who I'll call C, 21F. She went back to find a place to stay and get a part-time job in her college town so that she was ready for classes to start in the fall. I got her personal email from Kay's kids, because I don't really have social media, and decided to reach out to her. She was pretty excited to hear from me and I flew to her city and we set up a time to meet on one of her days off. I got to the restaurant early so that I could have a few drinks and calm my nerves. I decided to reserve the most private table they had so that we could say anything we wanted without people listening in and or staring. Well, the moment she walked through the door, I immediately knew who she was. She was the spitting of my mother, her grandmother, when she was that age. She even had the green eyes that Jay and I inherited from our mother. P was always jealous he never inherited them, because we were always getting compliments from strangers when we were little about our eyes. And you could tell it would burn P a new asshole because people weren't paying attention to him. So, I kept it together and we said our greetings. After the typical small talk about school, life and work, we place our orders. Then she finally says, "I guess you're wondering why I wanted to meet you." She proceeds to tell me that last year, she decided to buy an Ancestry DNA kit for her and her sister as something fun to do during lockdown, and, as many of you guessed, the kit came back as them being a half-sisters. C is Jay's daughter. She goes on to tell me that growing up, P had always treated his other kids better than her, and with the DNA results, it all finally made sense why and the reason they don't have the best relationship. Clearly P is still just as big a piece of shit as he always was. Nice to know some things never change. I'm sure he harbored some kind of resentment with the chance of her being Jay's daughter. After going to her mom with the results, A surprisingly admitted to everything that happened. I guess after A found out that her daughter was Jay's child, the situation and his suicide hit her like a ton of bricks, and she has harbored a great deal of guilt regarding it ever since. I went on to tell her all about the circumstances of her conception, Jay's suicide, my estrangement, the reason for their rocky relationship, etc. According to her, P wanted to give her up for adoption after she was born, but my parents, who I guess finally grew a spine, told him no and that they would financially cut him off if he did. So once lockdown restrictions finally started to lift in California, she thought reaching out to me would be the best way to get to know what her bio father was like. Apparently, it was only her that really had the urge to meet me, as I was closest to Jay during his life, and that was when she let Kay's daughters know that she wanted to meet me and asked them to contact me on her behalf. She knew we were close and that would be the best way to get in touch. After this, I couldn't hold back anymore. The waterworks began flowing. I couldn't help but apologize to C for all the things she had to go through with P. If I had known, I would have adopted C in a heartbeat. We spent the rest of the meal just talking about Jay, remembering old stories about him that I thought I had forgot. She is a great girl and smart as a whip, telling me how she intends to pursue her master's in computer science. She has scholarships and grants to cover all her schooling, which put my mind at ease that I probably wasn't being taken for the long con. We ended the night with exchanging contact info and a big hug. Feels like I got a little piece of Jay back. Now knowing that it was only C who really wished to meet, I asked her if she would reach out to her siblings on my behalf and see if they wanted to meet as well. Other than that, I am extremely happy with how this meeting turned out and feel like I have a lot of catching up to do with C in the future. Thankfully she completely understood and respected my desire to still stay no contact with P and her mother. I'm sure I will do an update on each of my meetings with the other kids as well.